Hello, you're listening to Somewhere on the Rainbow. I'm Thomas, and I'm here with Dusty, and today we'll be discussing gender identity and sexuality with them.
Hi.
And so, Dusty, so a couple things starting off. What do you most closely identify as, and what are your pronouns?
Um, I don't have a specific label that I use. I typically just go with like agender, which is like void of gender. But there are a lot of things that I do identify with a lot, like gender fluid. I don't know. I just go by agender for now, because that's what I'm currently comfortable with, and that's what I can stick with for the most part. And my pronouns are currently they, them, and he, him.
Alright, and so a couple things mainly just on when did you actually know of start to realize this or research this more? Like was this something recent or have you sort of known for years?
Well, I mean, knowing for years is sort of like a weird thing because you know something's wrong with you, you just don't exactly know what it is. So I wouldn't say I knew for years, but I had a feeling for years. So like there was like this always itch in the back of my mind whenever somebody referred to me as a girl. Whenever somebody was always like, "Oh, you can't cut your hair short, like you would look like a boy," and I was like totally fine with that. And it used to just be me just like thinking, "Oh, guess I'm just like not like other girls," like that stupid thing. But it was genuinely just me. It was like around middle school when I was actually like on the internet and I actually like learned all of like these like new terms that I didn't know before, and I was like, huh, that makes sense for me. So I just stuck with it, and I kind of was pushed back into I don't know, I was like pushed back into like not identifying with it. None of my own terms, just in general, of like, that's not what society wants of me. But when quarantine came, I resonated with it heavily, so I just got back in my little comfort zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And so you said you had a feeling that something was wrong. Was that just meaning something different with you other than the normal cis heterosexual type thing?
Yeah, I worded that weirdly. Uh, yes, I felt different. Different doesn't necessarily mean wrong, but it just meant that there was just something else there that always was like nagging me. Like, hey, you're uncomfortable with this, and I'll be like, but why? Like, that's not something like normal girls would be uncomfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really understandable. And so with you actually feeling more with this label or feeling, I should say, less of the label, how's that really affected your things on your perspective on society really, like the gender norms, stuff like that?
I mean, the whole thing with like gender norms is that like people don't owe you anything. So, non-binary people don't owe you androgyny or they them pronouns. Uh, Girls don't owe you femininity. Guys don't owe you masculinity. It's like that whole thing where you just have to with what you're comfortable with, and it's like a struggle for a lot of people to do that. And like as I view society, my view on society is very weird, but it's just hey, if you're comfortable with something, then go for it. If you want to do something with your life that like people would point and laugh at you at because you're a boy, you can't do that. Do it if you're comfortable with it, and if you want to do that, then do it. And a lot of people will always just be like to people who are non-binary, especially or trans, especially, they'll just be like, "Oh, you're just a blah 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 who wants to feel special." But it's just what they're comfortable with. Like if they figure out along the line that yeah they are just what they used to identify as, then so be it. It's not your place to dictate what they're comfortable with. It's based on the person. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's a very valid point there, absolutely, as I think many members of the LGBTQ plus community feel that way, that societal norms are not up for others. It's just something that it's for you to decide as an individual. So, did anything actually spur this possibility that you could be something other than the normal?
I wouldn't say it was like a push. It was like a pull in a weird direction for me. Um, because like my entire childhood, it was just like you're my daughter, you're my baby girl. I'm the youngest of my family, so like they'll just be like, you're the baby girl, you're the baby of the family. Like very, we have to like dress you up, like just like it's. I get all like the hand me downs. That's another point that I want to like say. I got hand-me-downs from both my sister and both my brothers. So I was like getting clothes that were like a wide variety of different things. Like there was like polo shirts and flannels, and then there's also like skirts and like a bunch of like different stuff that like it was a whole variety. And I think just establishing that, hey, I'm comfortable in male's clothes and I'm comfortable in clothes that aren't normally fit for people who were like me, I feel like that was a big, like, goal. Like, that was something that helped me along those lines.
Very interesting way, I'd say, of figuring that out is just like basically experimenting with different clothes, basically, is what I got from that.
Yeah, it was, it's like a whole, it's not like something that you usually would go, like, I found a lot of discomfort with being referred to feminine-wise, like, in middle school. Like, I would just try to be different than, like, how people would normally, like, phrase, like, a tomboy of sorts. But, like, for me, it was very, very different because it's not like it's just because I was, like, more masculine leaning or, like, I just, like sports and I was, like, all that. It was literally just because I didn't feel like a girl. And so I wanted something different.
That's actually quite a good insight into how a lot of, would you say, non-binary and anyone on the genderqueer spectrum feel
Yeah.
in terms of how they usually discover this type of thing.
It's not the usual way, but it was my way, so.
Yeah, and I'd say it's important for anyone who has a feeling like that to go about it their way and not anyone else's. And so, with you sort of discovering the possibility, you said you used the internet to like educate yourself. So, was this like forums? Was this like a BuzzFeed thing? What kind of thing were you looking at here?
So I'm currently a writer, and I used to be a writer, and I was a writer on this website called Quotev, which is usually for like short stories and quizzes. And I made a lot of friends on there who were like, oh, my pronouns are like they, fair, my pronouns are ze, them, my pronouns are they, them, like all these different types of things that I've never been like introduced with before. And so I was like, hey, what does this mean? And they were like, oh my god, we'll tell you everything. And I also got like info from like looking it up. But most of my experiences and most of the things that I've learned have been from other people who I have identified with on the internet. People are come out every day. So when I used to see like people like on Musically back when it was a thing, or like when Instagram, people like coming out like, oh, I'm genderqueer, oh, I don't go by labels. I was like, huh, okay. So like I would ask my friend, like I would ask like a friend or two like what that meant, and if I didn't get like an answer, it'd be like I'd look it up, and that usually helped a lot because it helped me get different views on different things, and like those people who helped me along the way sort of made me formulate my own opinions and my own identity, I guess.
Dusty, you identify as agender, so how does that affect your sexuality? Because I know that some people may identify as gay, and so does being agender change that, or this is mainly just for everyone else to try understanding this a bit?
So initially, when I was like first questioning my gender, I identified with the label as bisexual, and then I did further research, and I found that I wasn't exactly comfortable with the label of bisexual, and that had nothing to do with my gender. That was just me in general. So I started going by the label of pansexual, which I've always been comfortable with for 6 years now. Like that's just been like what I've been comfortable with now. And I wouldn't say my own gender has any effect on my sexuality at all, because I know what I like in people, and I don't like have preferences. So as somebody who is pansexual and non-binary, people are always like, "Oh, you're just like racking up the terms to be like special," and I'm like, "No, that's just who I am." So like my own gender had like nothing with my sexuality. I actually figured out my sexuality first, and then I set down my own gender identity. So they didn't have like much impact on each other. I always like found on the internet people have like different opinions on like, well, you can't be gay if you're non-binary, which you can, because being non-binary is not non-binary is not a third gender. It's not. It's included in every sexuality. Like if you are gay and you like somebody who is non-binary, that still makes you gay. If you are a lesbian and you like somebody who's non-binary, that's still like that and that. And we people who are non-binary don't want people to establish like a trinary, because you already have the gender binary in itself, like male and female. So since we are not a third gender, we're not like saying that you can only like us, or like you can. I have always gotten a lot of crap for identifying as pansexual, because so you go on the internet, there's going to be different opinions wherever you go. That's unavoidable. No one's like, not every single person is going to agree with you on things. So people are always like, well, being pansexual is biphobic because it's the same thing, it's just a different label. When in reality it's not. And like people are always like, pansexuality is transphobic. Well, like they'll throw around words just to say things that they don't like know about. And like the whole thing with pansexuality, it's just loving without preference. That's what I like to say as it is. And you can be bisexual and not have a preference. Like you can be pansexual and have a preference. It's literally just what you're comfortable with. Nobody can tell you what you are comfortable with. Like that's a whole thing. So if you don't exactly fit the terms of pansexuality or bisexuality or agender or being or gender fluid or gender queer, if you identify with the label and that's what you're comfortable with calling yourself, and you at least know that you are some semblance of like that specific label, then go for it. Go, like, if you're comfortable with identifying yourself as something that people would like yell at you for, then that's what you're comfortable with. They're not allowed to make anything different of it.
All right, and yeah, that makes plenty of sense, and hopefully the viewers here can actually learn a thing or two about what it actually means there and how gender identity, gender, sex, and sexuality all work together and sort of mesh. I do want to ask, is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to say that listen to people, because if you are on the internet and people are yelling at you for like, hey, like that's not what you think it means, and they are the thing that you are arguing for. Like, for example, if I'm non-binary, or like non-binary falls under the trans umbrella, so I'm trans. And somebody's like, that's transphobic when it isn't, and you say that's transphobic and they're talking over you, like don't talk over you. Like, okay, don't don't talk over people who have the experience that you're arguing for, because they will have a personal opinion on it because they have an experience with it. And if you want to input like your 2 cents in there, like, well, like I just think that, like, that's perfectly fine. But if you are talking over someone and you are completely erasing their opinion with your own, that's not what you should do. Take a second and listen to the person and maybe follow, like, maybe that can change your opinion. But just like know that other people have different experiences than you do. So not every opinion is going to be the same. So don't talk over people who have different experiences, because they will probably have it, like, they could have a different opinion and be the same label, same anything. That's the thing about opinions. They're different with every person.
All right, so that was our interview with Dusty. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. I think we all appreciate getting your opinion on things and just getting to know you and a bit better and your experiences. So thank you for being on Somewhere on the Rainbow, and have a good one.